So virtual mechanical has become the strongest Revit fabrication software on the market. And I'm excited to show you guys this today. We do have the strongest hanger automation. We have the strongest tag automation, the strongest opening automation, the strongest spooling automation. Usually I start with fabrication data, uh, but today I'd like to start with something a little more visually appealing, just to get our juices flowing. Um, One of the really cool features that we offer is this properties palette, fabrication properties palette, and this is really going to multiply productivity and make working VDC work in general much more enjoyable. Um, so you can see here, it just gives us real-time data on anything that we're selecting. So I can select everything here, and the first thing here is telling me I have 579 items selected. I can drop this box down, and it tells me every item that I have selected, what the CID is. So I have 81 field welds, CID 2522. I have 30 straights, 866. And I can easily just click that and select all my straights. I can come in here and I can select all my welds, right? Um, Also by type, let's go ahead and put some hangers on this real quick. Another thing, real quick, like I said, our hanger automation is really, really good. So I can absolutely just hang everything at once. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending that you do this, but you can say this is a project just starting up. You're going to have your first coordination meeting. You know, you can come in here and throw hangers on everything, claim some space in the model, and in 5 minutes before the meeting. So see, it's done a good job of hanging all this stuff real quick for me. But what I can do now is the type. So this is service type. If you're familiar with fabrication, this is service type. But you had Academy P and EST and Cam Duct. So I can say, give me all my hangers, right? And I just delete them. Uh, give me, give me all my equipment. Give me all my gaskets. Give me all the pipe work. So you can do that. You can also do it by everything in here. So you can edit all of these values. Well, most of these values you can edit multiple parts at a time, or you can use it as a selection filter to remove or add, or yeah, remove or isolate. So service, just give me, just give me, give me my no hub. There's my no hub. So you can do it by service, you can do it by spec. Give me, um, give me 2 inch. Oh no, I'm changing. Actually, see, I'm changing, and because this is another thing I should show you is on the right here. This controls how these boxes function. So right now, this is in edit mode, and you can change spec, you can change material, and you can change all this stuff. We'll go over that later. But so I'm going to change spec into select mode, right? And now it's just going to show me everything that I do have selected. I have some piping specs and I have some ductwork specs. And I'm going to say, just give me my 2 inch. There's my 2 inch. Put that back into, or you can remove. This is remove mode. So give me everything except 2 inch, right? Can do that. So you can see this very powerful tool. It's really going to help, and you need these tools. Size, you can do it by size, length, and also you can edit multiple parts at a time. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, well, just give me my 2 inch. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to say, I'm going to come to connectors. Well, let me look real quick because I don't remember. These taps have a 1 inch flange in on connector one, right? So I can just start. Well, I could just go and get all the connectors with flange in on the connector one, but I will. You can, kind of drill down to what you're looking for. So I'll start with spec or I'll start with service. Give me my 2 inch, and then from there, give me everything I'll put this in select mode and give me everything with a flange in on connector one. Now I've got all these tabs selected. That's nice. So I'm looking at some specs, some cut sheet. I've got some barrel diffusers that's supposed to fit these tabs so I can edit them all at once. Give me 36-inch wide. Give me 20, right? So that's really cool. And you can also, of course, edit your connectors as well. Um, there's connectors, insulations, right? So put this in select mode. Give me, give me everything with 2 inches of insulation. You can do that. Give me everything on level 1. Give me everything on level 2. Elevation is really cool because it does introduce the concept of highest and lowest. So if, for example, this is a slope, let me get rid of these hangers. I undid and got these hangers back. So we'll come up here and say type hangers, delete. So we do have this sloped floor drain service here, and I can just tab select it all. And so elevation, bottom, it all varies, right? But what I can do is say, give me the lowest elevation of this sloped service, and we can see it's -3'3" and some
Is
fraction.
that
And
the center line or bottom of pipe?
well, it depends on what you want. So right now we're at lowest. So this is showing me the lowest point in this whole everything I have selected, which is going to be here. That's showing our flow
Okay.
line. And I forgot to tell you guys, I will be moving kind of fast. Just so we can cover as much as possible. Please feel free to stop me at any time and ask questions. So I appreciate the question. Yes. So right now we're on lowest. So that's showing us our flow line right here. And I can absolutely say, and you need to know that. Say, oh, well, by the time I get to the other side of the building, I'm going to be above the slab. I need to be lower here. So I can just say immediately -4 foot. And it's going to move that whole service down for me. Now, your question, I'm going to go ahead and undo this. Your question was, well, what's the center? Well, we can go to center, but we have a bunch selected, so it's going to say varies. We can select this and say now it's going to give you the center. And this will be connector one uh, for sloped pipe. Yeah, obviously, if it's not sloped, then it's going to be center all the way across. You can say what's the highest. So that's the lowest. That's the lowest point here. If I say highest, that's going to give me this side and the top, right? And you can move everything relative to that. And matter of fact, you could you could take the whole floor.
For
The
the
lowest,
highest, does that work for your elbow there?
highest in all this selection would likely be
Oh, I'm
the
sorry. I meant for the slope piping. Like if you went down wherever
okay.
that
So
elbow is, can you see like the top of that?
highest is 0. Highest is 0 because we're at the slab here. See
No, I
that?
realize that, but
Sure.
if you just select the elbow, will that give you things, or is it only on
Sure.
straight pipe?
Sure. No.
Yeah,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
sweet.
So and
Okay,
this
thanks.
goes by connector, just so you know. So the highest connector on this elbow is at -1. The lowest connector, and that's going to be well to the center because it's just looking up. But when I say what's the lowest, it's not giving me the center, it's giving me the flow line. This elbow is at -2. So that's really useful, right?
Mhm.
Um, item number, you can search for specific item numbers. You can change all the item. Now all the item numbers I could change them all to 100 right now if I wanted. Of course, you wouldn't want to do that. But you can say, give me 100. And where is it? Oh, these are all 100, right? And these are the same.
That
There's
would be
that.
handy.
Yeah, Notes. Yeah, there was a question about notes. So I don't have any I have notes here, but let's put one. We're going to come here. I'm going to say Major Tom, right? And I'm in edit mode, so I'm changing it. And now I can select everything and say, just give me. Now let's put notes into select mode and say, give me Major Tom. There it is. Well, I actually had one here. I was practicing a little bit earlier, so I'm not fumbling around with this stuff when I'm trying to show you guys. So we do have two. If I select these two, what was it? Was it this one? This one? I've actually got a spool here. Let's Disassemble that. Okay. What else we got? We got status. Now, also, I want to remind you guys that these are all translated to Revit parameters. So all of your fabrication data is now in Revit. You can create views that only show you, major Tom notes. You can create views that only show you approved ductwork. You can color. And all of your fabrication data is now Revit understands it because Virtual Mechanical is pushing this into parameters, and I can show you that later. Um, item notes, spool name, status. There's one, right? So if I say, if I change the status here, right, to approved, and then for some reason I just want to know what's approved, come to status, put it in select mode, and say, give me approved. That piece is approved. Cut type, give me all my decode straights, right? Now you do have your database does have to be set up correctly, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So when I ask for decode straights, the database has to know what a decode straight is. Um, and of course, you have to be drawing decode straights. And we can go into that later too. We do have auto. Oh, what does Revit call it? Optimize. So we do that. So I can say, just give me, all my decode straights, right? Give me all of my machine cuts, right? And that's usually fittings or short joints. You can say, give me all my bought out, right? So here's bought out. Give me everything that's bought out true. Now, some of this stuff is read only in Revit. You can change bought out in CAD MEP and in Est and in CamDuct, but you can't in Revit. It's read only. That's a database thing. If you need something to be bought out, you're going to have to go into the database and change it to bought out that way. It is read only in Revit. Some of these are read only. Cut type is another one that's read only in Revit. And it should be, I think, if your database is set up correctly, then that's not a big issue. But yeah, as you can see, all this pipe is bought out. Obviously, this elbow is bought out. This canvas connection is bought out. And then it's also showing your custom data. I have a custom data called assembly. I have a custom data called package, and I have a custom data called total station ID. And now when you're creating assemblies or packages, you can, so an assembly is a Revit thing, right? CAD MEP, SMEP, CamDuct, they don't know what an assembly is, but you can push your assembly name into any of these custom data, so then they're aware. But there is one that's built in called spool name here. You can also do that if you prefer. You can push it into the spool. Any questions on that, guys? Is there anything as well that um, you'd like me to get into next? I was going to get into the parameters and the data next, but if you're kind of chomping at the bit to see something, please let me know.
I have a question about hangers. Can those factor in fittings? Or I know I haven't seen a tool that can only do straights.
Sure. And that's a good question. So the way that they work, and it's the same in CAD MEP and SME, they only do straights. And there is no API that allows me to put it on a fitting, but you can. Don't get me wrong. So one of the things that you can do, like I said, our hanger tools are really good. I can say, and all of these have hotkeys, and I know that the hotkey is for auto hanger is VAH. And you can change it to whatever you want. Now, if I select this side of the duct, it's going to go from here to the end of the run. If I select this side of the duct, it's going to go from there to the other end of the run, so you can control the direction. So, for example, I could just say start here and just hang that bit, right? Undo, VAH, start at this end and go backwards. Just do that. Undo, select it all, VAH, right? So yes, to answer your question, if, for example, we needed to support this elbow, and there's also a manual. So just give me a hanger on this straight right here. You can do that, and I could actually add that, to be honest, but and I should, and we will. But really, you're just gonna want to do this, right? Manually put a hanger, and then bump it over.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do now, but
Yeah, yeah. And
okay.
there was let me show you some other tools. We like this tool here is a great modeling tool. As I showed you, you can change dimensions and everything, but also let me go ahead and hang this. You can actually, and you can't do this in stock Revit, you can actually change. So if I isolate this hanger, you can change, like you have all the dimensions here now, and you didn't before.
Yeah,
So it does it. Fabrication hangers well, I almost want to say they're objectively better than if you're using fabrication parts, then fabrication hangers are going to be objectively better than any sort of family based hanger. And don't get me wrong, I like families and we do support families. And I'll show you a lot of ways that we do that. But if I do absolutely recommend, if you're using fabrication parts, you should be using fabrication hangers because with VM, they're very powerful. So I can just say, give me 60 on that rod. Right. You have full control, and then we have a bunch of other hanger tools that I'll show you here in a minute. Um, but one of the questions was, well, let me jumping ahead of myself here. Let me undo these hangers. So like I said, this is a very, very powerful modeling tool, but we also have a bunch of cool modeling tools that I'd like to show you real quick. So I'm coordinating right, and this box doesn't work. I need to move it. So I'm going to do just right in front of you really quickly. I'm going to do this. Give me here. And then this is a VM command called move MEP. Basically, I can select all that, use the hotkey for move MEP, and I'm going to select this connector and this connector. Now, this is a family, and this is a Revit uh, flex duct. So this works with any MEP element, not just fabrication parts, and most of our tools do. So that was real easy, right? And this is connected. Tab select, it's all connected. And if you've ever messed with trying to connect families or flex duct to fabrication parts, you know that's kind of a pain in the butt. And this just did it for me. And then from here, I'm going to hit my hotkey for show service, go over to the service, put an elbow on here, face it that way. And then again, I'm going to use the same tool. I'm going to tab select, move MEP, select this connector, select this connector, right? And in literally seconds, I've relocated that VAB. And if you didn't have these tools, that would have been a 5-minute ordeal. Could be.
and it's actually connecting it, or
Yep. Tab select all the way through, and then hang it. Boom. And we do coordinate with taps and OLEDs. And nobody else does this, so that means their hanger algorithms are worthless for HVAC because they're riddled with taps. And if you're not coordinating with taps and OLEDs, then you might as well just be placing them yourself. You're not automating anything. Right. So this is very, very powerful. Let's undo all this.
Nathan, is that your experience with? Does it put them on the taps?
for hanger? For
Yeah,
what?
duct hangers. Yeah, if you run an auto hanger tool.
It kind of depends, but yeah, a lot of times we do end up putting them on.
But like if you run auto hanger, is it putting a hanger underneath
No.
a tap, or is it spacing them out?
it absolutely does not coordinate with taps
No,
or
it
OLEDs.
doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always manual.
Right. So that's nice, right? Another thing we can do real quickly is, so we're going to go ahead and we're tab select this, and now we'll use another. Well, and then all these commands are here, just so you know. These are modeling commands. They're all here, and if you hover, it gives you really, really good tooltips. So what we're about to use here is copy MEP. You're going to see me using hotkeys a lot, and a lot of people are using multi-button mice and programmable keyboards, and they're building their own ribbons. You can absolutely do that, but you can also just do stuff through the ribbon. And so the tool we're about to use here is copy MEP, the hotkey out of the box is VCO. You can change that. And what it does is it copies selected MEP elements from origin connector to destination connector. And it kind of, takes you to the steps, right? So I've already pre-selected, and we do recommend that you pre-select because it's very powerful when you do, especially when you combine it with this tool, because you can pre-select, filter, and then run the tool on just what you want, right? So I pre-selected all this. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to say model, and I'm going to say copy MEP. And in the bottom left corner here, it's saying select the origin element near the desired connector. So the origin element near the desired connector is going to be this. Now it's going to say select the destination element near the desired connector. I'm going to say go ahead and give me that here, that here, that here, that here, that here, that here. Okay, escape. We're done. And you really are gonna you'll have a lot of typicals, especially nowadays everybody's talking about modular, right? What is modular? Well, it's a lot of typicals. And even on jobs that aren't modular, you should be aiming for a lot of that. So all of these boxes are going to have coil connections, right? So this in the same way, and even if all these boxes weren't the same, as long as there's your canvas connection and your transitions are probably going to be, you can copy those around. Your coil connections, absolutely. With the valves and the shut, just copy that bit around. So there we have that.
If that VAV was a different size, it would just connect and resize that canvas.
Right. So what this tool does is it's going to rotate it and copy it, but it's not going to change size, and that's intended. That's outside of the scope of the tool. So I could absolutely just borrow, for example, copy MEP. For example, I needed this little bit of duct over here facing this way. I could go ahead and do copy MEP from that connector, and I could just borrow this pipe connector to get me there, right? And then from there, move into place, which is cool. And then again, like I said, our hanger algorithms are very good. So VAH, right? It's missing all those tabs.
One thing I have often is like reconnecting taps.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's so our connection tools are really, really good. So say for example, let's just, so right now this tap is connected, right? Because I'm tab selecting, right? Tab and everything's turning green. So what we can do is I'm going to go ahead and use our tool disconnect. So this tab is not selected. I'm going to go ahead and isolate this so we can get a good view on it. And this is another VM tool, very useful. Isolate this, get up and over, coordination. This is a thing that we're doing. Very common tasks. We're looking to speed those up. So this tab is disconnected. Say I wanted to. I want to move this tab down. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to say, what's the bottom? 1410. Let's make it 14. 14.8. Right. So I've got this tab down now, but it's still not connected. What I can do then is just grab this, and the hotkey is B. What is the hotkey for connect? VMC. Just hit connect. Now it's connected. If I tab that, now I have one tap that's high and one tap that's low. So yeah, we very, very, very good tools, guys. And they will work for you. Everything that's as a matter of fact, you can go when we're done with this meeting, you can go download it and use it yourself. No questions asked. So let's unisolate this.
I think John had some questions about points.
Okay, sure.
Oh yeah, I watched the point demo video.
Awesome.
The nested points and the fab parts is pretty cool. Do you have like what is, I can't remember if this was in the video or not. Do you have like an analog then to the point manager that has like somewhere where you can see your grand list of points and edit them and descriptions?
Well, they're just
Like across,
parameters.
say, a whole area.
So here's another thing I'll say. And usually I try not to talk about the other guys until people start talking about the other guys. They hide, a lot of the stuff they're doing, they're pretending that they're adding features and they're just built into Revit already, and in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not saying that this is true for. I'm not. I don't know what they're doing with this point manager, but point manager is basically a schedule, and if you're familiar with Revit schedules, they're very powerful. These are just parameters. This blue point is a parameter, green point's a parameter, yellow point's a parameter, red, and so is the white. So, and then not only that, they're on this pipe. So if so I can come up here, right? Well, let's look at the properties. Here's all the VM data, right? Endpoints are on demand, like I said, so you can multi-select or whatever you want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. Update selected. Give me points on this pipe, right? And now I have points. So you just put this in a schedule, right? And you can all the power of a Revit schedule is with you. And not only that, you're not scheduling the points, you're scheduling the pipe. So you can schedule everything about this pipe along with the points. Right, so that's very powerful. Is there any specific feature you're looking for with quote unquote management?
I think, if I'm remembering correctly, you do have yours set up that you can switch the reference point for those points, right? Like if I've got a project survey point that's separate from the project base point, I can toggle to reference
Absolutely,
the survey point. Yep.
absolutely. So
And
point
then,
settings.
okay, yep, that's it.
So right now our is set to survey point, and generally you actually want to use project unless you know what you're doing and you have a survey point. And the survey point is just the intersection of column line A and 12, right? So these points will now, and you move the survey point is a Revit thing, right? You move the survey point to the intersection of column line A and 12. And then now, when you update these parameters with this setting, they're all coming off of the survey point. And then they're all coming off project base point. So internal origin is not necessarily useful. It's good for debug. This is just what Revit thinks internally the coordinate is, but that's not really meaningful to the guys in the field or even to the VDC guys. So generally, you're going to use a project placement and survey point, and then you can report these in feet or meters, right? So let's go ahead and change this to project base point, and we can watch these. We can watch these change. Oh, survey point and project base point were the same. You can have
Yep.
that as well. So they didn't change, but they would if I had moved that.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny thing I do with our setup is there's projects where they want us in shared coordinates, but it'll just be the architect's arbitrary shared coordinates. So we
Sure.
sort of have to put our base point and set our project up in these useless shared coordinates. So then I always have to put the survey point in the actual real world survey coordinates, and that's what my field team likes to use. Only other question then, do you have, so yeah, we've got the nested points in the fabrication parts, and I assume you can put them in a family as well.
Right. So yes, absolutely. So let me just say real quick. Our points work with connectors. Anything with connector will get points. So for example, let's isolate this box. I just downloaded this from Price, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got points. So if I wanted to lay these boxes out on the floor, I didn't have to come in and embed anything. I have points. Now there's a limitation, right? Well, actually, in our next update, more points will be available for any family. But right now, for families, you only get the primary connector. So if you wanted to go in and actually build hangers for this, VM's not next version. It will give you the points. This version it doesn't. But you will have to put dummy connectors on the end of your hangers. But you don't necessarily need to do that. Here, let me give you another example. This pump I just downloaded from Taco, right? And I'm gonna isolate this pump, and you can see I've got points in it, so I can lay these pumps out on the floor as well. Uh, no extra work required at all with that. Um, but like I said, if you are using fabrication hangers, lean into it because they're really good. So let me
Yeah, they've already got nested points.
yes, right. So
Yep.
if I want, yeah. So like this VAV box does not have hangers. I downloaded it for a price, but what I can do is copy this over, right? And oh, and like I said, you have all these dimensions now, which makes them even more powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and say, for now, I don't know, give me 36. And then standard Revit tools apply. So I'm going to use align. I'm going to look for a good alignment point. I think there's one.
You could do the center line of that duct to the north of it.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, this
If
is.
it-
Oh yeah, you're
if
getting
it's
into my
simple.
territory here of the kind of crazy stuff I do to get points on things.
Right.
Right.
And then
So like
align.
on the equipment pads though, below that pump we were looking at earlier. So if I needed to do a point layout for equipment pads, I'd maybe be having to use, for now, you said there's an update coming. For now, I'd be using like point layout or a different add-in to
Sure.
manually place points on the corners.
I'm glad you asked that question. These are actually pinned right now, so I can't select them. These housekeeping pads. Well, I'll come up here and what is it? What allows me to select pinned elements?
Oh,
It's in the modified drop down.
yeah.
Arrow is.
Okay. Modify.
Yeah, right on the very left, right below the big modify arrow.
Okay. Yes.
Drop down.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yep.
Great. So now I can select this. Now here's the thing. This is
A Revit
this is a floor. This is a floor.
Yep.
So it's a built-in family. You could make a family for housekeeping pads, and you could put a connector on it, right? Just a dummy connector, and then you get points for free. You don't have to embed them in the and then you'd be scheduling the housekeeping pad, which means you have the size along with the points. Right? It's not just this separate family. But like I said, anything with a connector. So you can create just a 1 by 1 box that's a generic model with a connector on it. Place it everywhere you want. So you still have that power. You can place manual connectors. As a matter of fact, you can do it with fabrication parts. It's just a tiny end cap, the fabrication end cap. It's got points. See, there's the red point. There's the blue point. Right, and I just put tiny end caps. And like you can get with your database guys, and maybe you'll make a service just for points, right? But you could use fabrication parts for points. You can make a 1 by 1 box with a connector on it, make it a generic family or whatever, and then you place those around, and then these will absolutely schedule, right? So if I look at the properties on this, it's got all the VM data, and then give me the points on this. Update selected, bam, and then you know, of course you. So I have the attacher arrow on, which we'll get into later, and the ATT turn that off, right? But so you're going to be scheduling the white point, and if you watch the video, you guys know about this. So that's going to be C1, right? So you have C1X, C1Y, and C1Z, and this C1Z is at 0 because that's right at the slab.
And if you wanted to, like in our field teams can be kind of particular about the descriptions for a given point in the exports we give them. So if you wanted that white center point that lines up with the corner of the pad to have a
Right.
description of like pad corner, where's the parameter or VM parameter to put in like a custom description?
So
Good point.
you could make a parameter that applies to fabrication parts, or if you're using, like I said, families, you can make a parameter that applies that, and then whatever they
Okay.
want. But also you could use custom data. And like I said, I have custom data. Here's a total station ID. This is point 12, right? Or whatever you want. Another thing, speaking of data, and I know one of the, in the questions you guys gave is you want all your companies to be working with the same data, and VM's going to really help with that. And you Revit gurus will know that the height on a price box is not the height on a taco pump, right? So that's a problem. And so you would need two different tags. You need one tag to tag the height on this box, and you need one tag to height. So what VM does, and like I said, we do support. We do lean heavily into connectors, and we give you a lot of data on that. So anything you download, any parts you make, as long as it has connectors on it, it's going to give you a lot of cool data. For example, like I said, I just downloaded this from Price, but VM gave me all this data. I have height, I have shape, I have connector perimeter, I have connector count. Like I could get weld inches off of this box if I needed to because VM is giving me this data just for free. Also, bottom and low. This is taking the bounding box, right? So if you use this in a tag, it's going to work for all of your families because it's the same parameter. And kind of the thing, and this is real confusing to people. Parameter name, there's an underlying uh, GUID, right? So the height, like I said, the height parameter is not the same height parameter throughout Revit, and they have to do this because Price needs a parameter called height, and Taco may need a parameter called height, and they're not, these two manufacturers are not, coordinating with each other and using the same GUID. So you have two parameters named height, but they're not the same. In this way, VM kind of unifies all of that data for you, and as well, so packages. This is a good segue into that. A package is just some portion of some model. A package could be an assembly, something you intend to pre-assemble and then ship to the field. An assembly is a thing built into Revit, but a package it's just parameter. It could also be parameter based. Could be anything. You can make a package parameter called riser. You can make a package parameter called module. You can make a package parameter called spool, skid, anything you want. And you do this through package settings. We do come with some packages out of the box, subassembly, assembly, subpackage, and package. Now, when you use assembly, it's going to create proper Revit assemblies, but you can also create anything you want, riser, right? And when you do this, say company A creates a parameter called riser, right? So now I could use this to create packages. And if this is not, say, in your Revit template, and company B makes a package called riser, you can rest assured that this riser is going to be the same riser as company A's riser, which is cool. So when you create parameters in through this interface here, it's going to ensure that the GUID jives with the name, which is really cool. But again, like I said, a lot of this stuff is just done through the Revit template. At some point, you guys are going to need to all be working with the same Revit template, at least the same base Revit template. Individual companies might have special needs, right? But so like here we can absolutely make a package called riser, right? And then what we can do here is these are my package settings. So and what this is saying is like when I'm using the package tools, what do I want to do? Well, right now I want to make risers, and I'm going to push it to the spool name. So riser is a Revit parameter, right? CAD, CAM, and S, they don't know what a parameter is, but they will when I push it to the spool name. But I can also push it to any custom data. So you can get with your database admins and say, hey, give us a few custom parameters. They'll be happy to oblige. And then you'll have them here, and you can push your riser to an identical riser custom parameter. But for now, we'll just push it to spool name. And these, I can get into these a little more in a minute, but we can. So when I'm creating risers packages, I want to override the visibility. This just hides it. When I create a riser package, hide it. So I know I've been there and I've done that. You have these options here, and these are just temporary kind of visual feedback. What have I done? Where have I been? So override visibility, and this is not a very good example of riser, but what I can do here is, and then this, you can absolutely just box select. Oops. You can box select and create a riser that way, but you could also use pick, which basically, so I'm going to say riser 01, right? I'm going to go from this canvas connection to this elbow, and it's disappeared, right? And we'll pretend this is a riser. I can keep going down the run. There's riser 2, there's riser 3, right? And another option, I can't remember if it was picked or not, but it's include tags and an OLED. So, and I believe it is selected. So when I select this piece, this tab should disappear because it's going to be part of the riser. And it did. So that's another, and I'm going to undo all this. So you
I
can
got
do that.
a package question.
Sure.
So like probably a pretty common standard will be to do packages by areas, right? Like you might have zone 4 that has 40 spools. So you want to make your zone 4 package.
Sure.
And this is an issue I kind of run into with Revit right now is you got to remember to, like, let's say after area is signed off and you get it all assembled in Revit, you have to remember to go write that area 4 package parameter into everything. And like in this case, you're able to kind of just select it in. What I've seen happen then too, or like the only thing I don't like about that process is if you have to go back and delete and replace a piece because maybe a full length becomes a fitting, or unpiping, you're adding or subtracting pieces. I have to make sure my team remembers to go back and rewrites basically that parametric package data.
Sure.
Something that I think doesn't work, like admittedly doesn't work super well. I haven't gotten it to work super cleanly yet, but I like the concept is has this like area box that you drop it down almost as like a second scope box in the area, and then
Absolutely.
fab parts you model in there get that area data. So yeah, do you have any automations so that something that's in, say, an identified zone 4 that you've defined, as you make any updates, delete or add things in that area, that data is updated automatically?
Absolutely. So if we go to sheets, we can create. This is kind of getting into the spooling tools, but they're not spooling tools. They work for any package, and a package could be a pipe battery detail. It could be a riser detail, not necessarily an assembly. And these are just, so these sheet tools work with that. And so you saw me. I just created that riser parameter in front of you, and here it is. So I can create a sheet out of risers and just go select all the risers. And another question was, well, can I have multiple schedules? Absolutely. You can have as many schedules as you want. And say you had, oh, I don't know, you had fire dampers in the riser, and those are families. So you would go pick your fire damper family template for your schedule, and then you'd schedule your duct with your standard, fabrication duct schedule, but all the templates in your project will show up here. And say like I said, you had fire dampers in your riser, and they were families. You would go and you would go make a scheduled template for fire damper families, and you could pick it here, right? But I'm getting ahead of myself. What I wanted to show you here is scope boxes. If you want to, you can go make scope boxes, and you can do that absolutely. And this will schedule everything in your scope box. It's
Oh,
smart and
nice.
it's smart in that way. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Sweet.
Yep, pretty cool. You guys want to get more into? What do you want to get into next? We could get more into
Could
spools, tags.
could you do that auto tagging thing? Because I know something that Nathan brought up was showing the end connectors for a piece of ductwork, or if there's a way to tag it, because I think there is a way in your program to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So any of this fabricated, this I've undid, and now this assembly is back. Delete that assembly. Okay. Yes. There we go. So yes, any of this data, and even the points that you saw, any of this data you can absolutely tag, and this tells you connector type. C1 connector type is TDC, C2 connector. And another question was about fabrication calls them reports, right? And generally, if you're not running a good add-in, then schedules aren't going to work for you because it doesn't have the data that you're used to in reports. This gives you everything. So here, here's all your ancillaries for that piece. There's your gasket. Um, there's your bolts, right? Same with hangers. It's going to tell you, how much threaded rod you have, as well as your dimensions. Here's all the dimensions for everything. So Revit schedules are now just as powerful as your reports. In fact, even more powerful.
How, sorry to interrupt, how do you reform, like, so that's something I've seen, and yeah, it's like almost a base Revit issue in a sense of ancillaries. There's just a really long, what do you call it, a string?
Right.
So how do you get a Revit schedule to break that out or format it in any way other than just that long string that it
So
is?
that's a good question. So and so we do provide that because sometimes you want to schedule pipe and fitting, or you want to schedule duct and fittings together, and this facilitates that. So for example, and here's another cool tool. You can just schedule selections without having to worry about filtering it. VM will do that for you. So I'm going to select all this. I'm going to say schedule, create a schedule, and here I can say, oh, duct temp, and I'm going to pick my duct fab schedule, which is just a template that I selected earlier. And in this way, I'm scheduling duct and fittings together. And so, yeah, and if you're, of course, if you're not scheduling T's and or what is it, crosses, right? Then you could absolutely get rid of, these three columns. But here's all your dimensions, right? And this gives you a way to do that because elbow might have a throat, but transition doesn't, right? And then so now you're kind of, if you want to do it that way, you're stuck to only scheduling elbows and then only scheduling transitions by themselves, right? Because they're they all don't have the same dimensions, right? So this gives you a way to do that, which is really cool, and it also gives you a way, like, um, it's funny. Nobody's going straight from an MAJ file to the burning tables. Everybody's scripting the hell out of it. Usually, you've got somebody going over all the data and double checking, and as well you should, right? Because there's a lot of money to be lost if anything is wrong. Uh, you know, so this gives you a way to do that. But in our next update, we will be providing all of this on an index basis. So you can, if you want to have individual columns for every individual ancillary or every individual dimension, you absolutely can. And this will pop up here as VM dimension 1, VM dimension 2. Oh, excuse me. Let me select something here. I'm in a schedule. Let me get out of here. So you'll have VM Dem 1, VM Dem 2, VM Dem 3, up to I think we're gonna support up to like 30 dimensions. And they will, and another thing is it's not going to pollute this. If this doesn't have dimension 20, it won't be here, which is cool. But yes, to answer your question, and we do update like at least twice a year, which is and if you can go look at our updates on our website. They're very substantial. I mean, if you compare our updates with the other guys, we're adding meaningful stuff all the time. And to be honest with you guys, what are those other guys? There's nobody, no original employees, including developers. So any developer that they're hiring, they're looking at code that they don't understand, that they didn't write. And I think you're probably seeing that with their updates. How they're trying to grow is they're building new products with a new team. What is this or whatever? And I would be worried if I were you guys. That's not the way forward. And you know what they're going to try to do is hold your data ransom for your subscription. And like I said, we have better tools. And in fact, most of our customers are switching from the guys that you're using. Most of them. Yeah.
Could you show the auto tagging?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can tag absolutely. You can tag in any view. You can do a side view, for example, and it's going to be smart and it's going to be fitting it in this dimension. When you tag uh, this view, it's going to be smart and try to fit it in this dimension. But for 3D views, you do have to lock them if you want to tag them. I'm just going to select all this and say VAT auto tag. Yeah, so basically, it will place any fabrication tag anywhere on any part, and you get to choose this out of the box. You can see this is very good already, and it's got some intelligence built in, where you can say, put my number tag in the center on C2, but if it doesn't fit, move it out, and that's what it did here with the tabs. So it's real like this is done, guys. You're really not going to have to mess with this. Now, I'm not saying you won't have to. You absolutely will. But like here, right? That's too much data on this little piece. And you can use arrow keys, of course. Uh, but this, like, it's going to save a lot of time. One of the
Do you have
questions.
anything with dimensioning?
Uh,
I
as
guess I
far as
didn't know. I'm
proper
just kind of
dimensions.
curious. Like if you want to do branch to branch dimensions.
Well, like this,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. No.
I don't think anyone else does. I was just curious.
No, and some of them try to do. Well, they try to sell you some snake oil and smoke and mirrors, and they'll say that they're auto dimensioning spools. Nobody's doing that, and the reason I know that is, well, because I've been in the industry 25 years. And what is a good view direction? So one of the challenges with batch spooling 50, 100 spools at once is what is a good view direction for one spool is not necessarily a good view direction for the next spool. And when you're just dragging a box around 50 spools, they might say they have an auto dimension tool, but that just wholly depends on which way you're looking. Does the dimension need to drag this way? Does the dimension, and we can get into that, later if you want to get into the spooling stuff. But
Oh, sorry. I just noticed something on this view.
sure.
So like right where your mouse is,
Huh?
right on either side of the transition, does it know to place the bottom and size like right before a transition or a fitting?
Absolutely. So that's something that's built in. Yes,
That's really nice.
yeah, we have a lot of. I try to be careful using the word AI anymore. So AI, if you remember if you played Mario Brothers, the Goombas and the turtles, they had AI, right? But that was human coded AI, and now AI is like something totally different. So we have human coded AI by industry professionals that understand how shit should be tagged. Excuse my language, but yes. So if we kind of read the tooltip on the auto tag, it's going to automatically place spec-driven fabrication tags where directly connected to size, shape, elevation, or branch changing fittings. And that's true for some of the tags. So we know that if we're changing sizes, we need a size and an elevation tag on both sides. So it does that, and then it does an over tag. So it's not giving you size and elevation here because it's here and it's here. Now, if you wanted that, that's just the auto tag functionality. You can have a size and elevation tag wherever you want, right? And you could do multiple at once. You can absolutely control, if you wanted a size and elevation tag on everything, you absolutely could. You just wouldn't use auto tag in that situation. And like I said, say you only wanted to do, like you only wanted length tags on short joints, right? Here, this tool comes in handy. Give me everything that's not a coil joint, and then put a length tag on that. A lot of people like to do that. Like I don't need to see 56 if it's a full joint, right? So you can do that. Notes. Like I said, anything here, and somebody, you guys were asking about connectors. Absolutely. So what we're gonna do is and also just to kind of walk you guys through it. Anything you see here, dragon stuff, and that's another thing you need to be careful with. I'm sure you guys are familiar. You accidentally click something and you drag it. What? And that's not good. So do that. Anything here we can tag. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to manage. Now you do have to have a shared parameter file, right? And you can have multiple of these. You could have, one for your company, and then you could have one separate just for the VM stuff, right? And that right, and it's just a text file. I have one set. You can share this. So first, make sure that you do have a shared parameter file set up. And most of this VM data is just a project parameter. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say VM B2 type, right? I need this parameter. I want to make a tag with this parameter. So in order to do that, I need to export it so that when I go into my tag family, I can pull it in. So there it is, VMC2 type. And then what we can do is you can start, and I do recommend you kind of start with one of the VM tags and then save as, file save as. But I do actually have it already. I made it ahead of time. C2 type. Let's just go ahead and open it. And I've actually rotated this because say, I want it, along the connector and not along the center line. So I've done that, and you just load it into project and close. I believe it's already in the project, but let's see. And I actually didn't show you. I meant to show you. I'm sorry. So what we're going to do is just to show you, I'm going to go to the properties of this. I'm going to edit. Right now, this is a size and bottom elevation. This is my combo tag. I'm using a breakpoint and I'm using a prefix. I don't want any of that anymore. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to import my C2 type. There it is. And now I can come over here, say, give me a C2 type, apply, okay, and then just rotate that along, the center of the work planes. Right. And then save, load into project. Right. I've already done this. And then what we can do is VM also. So another thing, if I select anything and then go to the VM database, I don't know if you guys have questions about the VM database, please let me know. But the VM database just sits on top of your data. It's just an extension of your database that makes it talk to Revit. So I'm going to say VMD or VDD, excuse me. And notice I had this part selected. It took me directly to a 4-inch rectangular. I had this part selected, VDB, it took me directly to 4-inch round, right? If I go here, select this VDB. So this is very helpful when you need to come in and you need to edit something in the database. Select it and it'll get you there. Now I'm on welded threaded round. But what we want to do here is I'm going to go here, VDB. And so I'm in rectangular tags. You can go to hangers. Here's your hanger stuff for 4-inch. Here's your opening stuff for 4-inch. Here's your tag stuff for 4-inch. And then of course you have rectangular and round. And these are the kind of the built-in tag. Now we give you tags out of the box so stuff just works, but you can use any of your tags, right? Say you don't like the VM Fab Duct size tag, or say you want smaller text, say you want a different font, right? Your tags, you can use your tags. But also, and this is kind of the stuff. These are common tags: size, elevation, combo number. Say you had something weird like connector. That's not necessarily weird, but it's not something that comes standard. So you can make one. And so here's Fab Notes, by the way. And actually, this is going to be notes will be a standard tag next to update. So you won't need to make it custom, but you can make as many custom tags as you want, right? And you can name them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, give me a new custom tag. I'm going to call this C2 type. And I should have one here. I don't. I didn't load it. I did not load it. So let's do that. I'm going to file, open, C2 type. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to load into project and close. Right, right, good. And it's already at the tip, right? See, it's trying to put it. Now this is just standard Revit stuff, and you can, any of these VM tags, if you want to do this, you can do this. And I'll show you that in a minute, but we want to automate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the database, VD, we're going to go to custom. I made this, but now this should show up. Where is it? C2 type. There it is. Now I want this to be on C2, right? Center, and then give me off of C2 by 2 inches, right? And that should be good, right? And then so now if we go here and we look at tag, it's went ahead and made the command for me. And like I said, you can change this, but the hotkey is CT1. So I'm just going to pre-select and say CT1. There you go. And this is smart. So like if I copy this, and in a lot of projects, we've got duct and fittings going in all kinds of different directions, right? So we're going to rotate this at some crazy angle. 11 degrees. CT1. Very nice. And this is intelligent. So we're going to copy this. If this were the opposite direction.
Could you have it tag it, like if it's only, like, say I just wanted to where there's loose duct mate. Could it tag it only if it was loose duct mate?
Uh,
Or is that overcomplicating it?
I'm not sure I'm understanding. If you had a loose item that you snapped to the end called duct mate, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's just the fabrication part, and this will tag any fabrication part anywhere with any
Like I don't want it to call out like all the TDC and the slip and drives. I want to like only do like if it was this particular type of connection.
Absolutely. And so that's where this comes in, right? You're going to come in here and say, give me all of my loose
Oh, gotcha. You'd filter it by that.
filter, right? And then tag.
Gotcha.
Yes. And the cool thing about this is like you could absolutely do that through standard, and we do have another cool thing. This filter. So this works on your basic Revit filters. I'm sure you guys are familiar. Uh, right, let's edit. This is just your rule-based filter. So this is what colors my assemblies based on. And honestly, guys, the human eye is only going to be able to distinguish about 10 different colors in Revit, anyways. So these rules are excuse me. So assembly zero. If assembly name ends with 0, assembly name ends with 1, assembly name ends with 2, right? But also you could do connector equals loose duct mate, right? And then you could do that through Revit, but you don't have to write 99% of these things. You don't have to write. It's right here, which is really nice. But now since I got into that, let's go ahead and do that. So if I go to the visibility graphics in your filters, then you can then pull in all of these rule-based filters, and this is how it's done. Um, uh, so any assembly that ends with 0 will be pink. any assembly that ends with 1 will be. Now these are all turned off at the moment. So let me go ahead and go package. Let's go to our package settings. We're going to change this to assembly. We do have some options here. Now these are temporary. You could use, if you wanted to do your small map this way, you could, but I don't recommend it. These are just supposed to be temporary to know where you've been and what you've done. But this will do that as well. So I'm going to say, don't override the visibility, override the color, include taps and alerts and couplings. That's cool too. I'll show you that in a minute. So and we're going to go ahead and push that into the spool name as well. So let's say this is process cooling. So I'm going to say pick a package, and I'm going to start with PC-1. Okay. I'm going to say go from here to here, and that's PC1. And I'm going to say continue going. But yeah, that's temporary, right? But let me go ahead and go back to VG. And if you wanted to make a spool map, then this would be in your spool map view. You would be driving your spool map through visibility graphics with these rules. I'm going to turn these on. Now, this does have hierarchy. So because assembly is above 4-inch water gauge is green, right? But if I have it in an assembly, this is going to override because it's above. These do have, right? If you're familiar with Revit and visibility graphics, and you do have to, you guys, if you don't know about this stuff, you got to learn this stuff. But anyways, so there's that. I did turn that on. So now I'm going to apply OK. And then when I come to make spools, I'm going to go ahead and say, because my view is now driving it, I don't need my tool to drive it. And I'm going to say, okay, let's make assemblies. I'm going to say package, pick package, PC-1. Okay, and I'm going to go from here to here. There's PC1, and then go from here to there. Go PC2. You just keep going down the run. Now another thing I'll show you guys here is this option. Exclude end couplings. Basically, this is field welds. This is just basically field welds. So notice that option was checked. So I picked from there to there, and then from there to there. And if we look at these welds, they are part of the assembly. I selected that weld as part of the assembly. But if we look here, it's not. This is a field weld, which is cool because you want to know, what welds are the shop doing, what welds are in the field, especially if you have to sign off on these welds and schedule them. It's going to do that for you. And since I'm already here, let's go ahead and go over spooling real quick, unless you guys had other questions. So with spools, like I said, you got another, in one of your questions is you want to make sure that all the companies are using the same standards. So when you're setting these up, you can save them. So I'm going to go ahead and load uh, my process cooling template. So all the companies, when we're spooling process cooling, this is how we do it. And you can save and share this file, put it on a server or whatever. Load this in. I won't go over this too much unless you want me to because it is in the video, but at the top is your sheet settings. Here's all your view settings. Here's all your schedule settings. Basically, I say I want 2 views. For my process cooling, I want 2 views. I want an ISO and a plan. This is the view type. Here is the template. The template is extremely important. What's the scale? What's it look like? What's visible? What color is it? This is the 90% of getting a good spool is this, the template. And of course, and these are just Revit templates. You make them and they'll be here and you can save and load. And so as far as positioning on the sheet, it's very simple. I want the top of this, I want the bottom left of this view to line up with the bottom left of my title block. That's what this is saying. I could say I want the top of the view to line up with the top of my title block. So right now I'm going to say bottom left, and then I'm going to offset in the X and Y dimension, 3, 2.5. And so that's for my 3D view. And then for the ISO view, I'm going to come over 3 and 2.5. Same thing with schedules. Name the schedule, give it a template, and then where is it on the sheet? Right. I'm not sure. Oh, did I pre-select? No, I didn't. I don't think I did. You can pre-select. I'm going to go ahead and pre-select. We're going to go to sheets, I'm going to make sure that I create assemblies. I did create assemblies. And then I'm just going to create the sheets, right? And then so we go to project browser. Here's PC1. Here's PC2. Here's the ISO. Here's the plan. And now I had 2 schedules. That was another question. Yes, you can absolutely have as many schedules as you want. Here's a pipe schedule. Here's a weld schedule. And if, say, I had my families were valves, I could put a valve family schedule in here as well. And here's the sheet. So yeah, pretty simple. This is a simple example, right? This is just a 17 by 11. And honestly, guys, in a digital world, the shop has a big screen. The field has a big screen. You can make these as big as you want and get all the data on there. Uh, um, so if you had big schedules, you could all line them up in the right. The right bar could just be dedicated to schedules and signing off on welds. But if you notice here, I did weld. I numbered the welds uh, uniquely, but I numbered the parts with interchangeable numbers. So we do have quantities here. I have 4 straights and 2 elbows and 2 45s and a 190. One of the cool things that we do have is you can dimension multi-planar spools. Like you can see the spool lives on multiple planes, and dimensioning that in Revit would be kind of a pain in the butts. But we do offer this dimension MEP tool, and what this will do is it'll basically put you on. It'll line up your work plane with each piece as you're dimensioning. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and select this piece. I'm going to come up here and say dimension MEP. And so then it gives me this arrow. Where do I want my dimension lines to drag? And I can just click. I could drag them out at 45. I could drag them out 90. I could drag them down, right? So for this particular spool, I want to drag them out this way. So I'm going to set that, and down here it's saying select again to rotate, escape to complete rotation. So we would select that. There, it set my work plane. Now I'm ready to dimension from here to here, right? Now, if this was the same plane, I could keep going, but it's not, right? I need to change planes now. So I'm going to do it again and again. Like I said, guys, there's hotkeys and programmable mice. But for now, I'm going to go through the ribbon here, and now I'm going to do it again. Where do I want to drag it? The same way, right? Escape. And I'm going to go from here to here, right? And then again, I'm on a different plane again, right? So I could keep going if I was on the same plane, but I'm not. So I'm going to go ahead and select again. Uh, Dimension MEP, and I'm going to go, yeah, yes, that's fine. Escape, and then from here to here, right? And if I unlock this view, you can see that this is a true 3D dimension. Any questions?
If you wanted to get the height of the top and bottom piece, can you do that too? Because I see that you did the diagonal one.
Yes. Yes, you can. So that's just a plane, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select, go in here, select this. But in this time, I'm going to go dimension NBP, but I want my dimensions to stretch this way, right? And now I can go from here, to here, right?
Nice.
And
Okay.
yeah, and that's another reason people, they'll say, oh, we have an auto dimension tool. I don't think so, guys. Uh, spooling multiplanar spools is not. Now, I don't know if you guys are using Stratus, right? But they're using text masks and stuff. Yeah, I could throw dimensions on there easily through software, but they're using text. If this was on the other side of the pipe, you wouldn't see it, or they're using text masks, right? And this is masking as well. But yeah, absolutely. And then for this, so out of the box, I might want to do this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and double click into this view, and I'm going to tab select, and I'm going to say VNT. That's my hotkey for number tags. Now, out of the box, I have it set up this way. I want my number tags on C2 with a 2-inch offset, and that's exactly what I got. Now, if it doesn't fit, move it below, and so you can see my weld. Now that works. Like maybe I might, like that's pretty much done. But if I wanted to, I can do that maybe. But let me show you some other things. So I'm going to undo this. We do have an override, which is cool, and this works anywhere, not just in spools. In your plan views, you can select all this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my handy dandy tool here, and I'm going to say I don't want to number this. So say I want my weld numbers below, and I want my everything else above. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, give me just the pipe work. Now I just have pipe work, no welds. And if you look at the tag tool under, well, any of these tags, but if you we're number tag is what we're doing, you see hold break to override your spec. So I'm going to tag this stuff, but I want to override the spec for this specific selection. So I've got this selected, right? And I'm going to hold the modifier key, which is pause break for this. I'm going to say hold pause break. I'm going to say VNT. There we go. And now it's saying, okay, well, where do you want them? If you don't want them where the spec says, where do you want them? So I'm going to say the length location. Yeah, put them on C2 above. With a 10-inch offset, right? And then I could do that, right? And then if I wanted, another thing that's coming is you will have the option to go ahead and turn leaders on in that box. But for right now, if you want leaders, you just come over here and put leaders, right? So there's my pieces, right? And then I'm going to select again, but this time I'm going to say, give me just the welds, right? And I'm also going to, well, actually, I know that welds aren't going to fit and they're going to go to the bottom. So I could just VNT and be done with it. But I could have overridden those too. So very powerful tools, you guys. Really good stuff's going to be really good for spooling as well. Any questions on spooling? See, how are we for time? Oh, we're already over the hour. I want to be respectful of your guys' time. If you guys need to go, I understand we can do more of these, but I can stay longer if you guys have questions. I was going to get into kind of, you guys have questions about SN drives and inverted square duct. I could get into that if you want, or if you guys have to go, I understand.
With like the floor plan for the spool drawing, like I've always kind of wanted it just to be like just that little snippet of the spool map. Is that possible?
So just
So, like,
this?
well, to show like the walls and like show the duct around it even, and just kind of have it highlighted, but
Yes.
I
So
don't know if
yes,
that's possible.
yes, it is possible, and I know the other guys are leaning into heavily into assemblies, and that's kind of, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're just kind of, you can create, Revit will create the views for you for an assembly. This comes out of the box, and they're leaning on it. And the thing about an assembly view is, if you're using assembly views, it's only going to show what's in the assembly. You don't have the option. You don't have the option to show the walls or the housekeeping pads. They're not
Right.
They're not part of the assembly. Well, that's the really cool thing about AVM is you don't have to create assemblies. And this is kind of obnoxious, to be honest. Now it's an assembly. I can't select it into little pieces unless I. So let's go ahead and let's first of all, let's disassemble these.
Because I might want the architectural walls showing, and then I could
Exactly.
dimension off a wall or have
Sure.
those dimensions showing.
Sure. And
So I wouldn't have to hop back between drawings.
right.
know.
And in complex, gang bathroom pipe batteries, right? You might want to show uh, the water closets, right? And they're not necessarily part of
Right.
the assembly. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. So let's disassemble that. Delete elements. Let's disassemble this. That's fine. So you can use parameter-driven assemblies. Um, so we're going to go to package, and we're not going to create proper assemblies anymore. We're going to create a parameter-driven assembly. Now like I said, you can create your own. What am I making an assembly of? This could be pipe, bathroom, gang bathroom, whatever you want, like literally anything. We do have some out of the box sub package, or a sub assembly is just a parameter driven assembly. So we're going to use that, and we're going to go ahead and override the Ryan color and the fill color, because if you remember, our view filters were set up for assemblies, not this. But you could absolutely do the same thing. But instead of looking for assembly name, you'd be looking for whatever's here. And then if subassembly ends with 0, make it blue. If subassembly ends with 1, make it green. But we can't do that just here. But these are temporary. So let's do that. Okay. VM package, pick package. And then, so again, PC-1. Okay. From here to here, and then to here. Right. So now, now notice they're not all selecting at once. They're still individual pieces. They're not assemblies, but they are. You go here, all of these have subassembly PC1. All of these have subassembly PC2. And then you could have there's unlimited layers to the onion. You could have packages inside packages inside packages. So I've got 2 subassemblies that could be in order, another package called order 1, which is in another package called area 1. There's this really, really, really flexible and powerful here. So this time I'm going to select everything. I'm going to go to sheets again. Right. But this time I'm not doing assemblies. I'm doing some packages. So I have to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and create the sheets here. Oh, I think I did have, well, no. What did I do here? Subassembly. And I picked sub package. That's a problem. So that's why it was giving me an error. Let's go back to sheets. Sub package, no. This is a subassembly. So let's go ahead and, oops, I hit X. Sheets, sub assembly, yes. Go ahead and create sheets for that. There we go. Now, if you'll notice, project browser, they're not down here in assemblies. They're up here with the rest of your sheets, which gives you all of the power of regular sheets, which means you can have, right, the housekeeping pads and the water closets and the plumbing fixtures. Now, we don't have any here, right, but you could. You absolutely could. And would be the way to do that.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes more sense now, like for why really an assembly is just only showing what you have in that assembly. It's
Right.
just using the Revit assembly. Okay.
Like I said, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We could absolutely do this again. And like I said, and everybody can go download this right now and start trying all this stuff. No questions asked.
I do have, so like I will often put in like, say control points or adding more control points, or even we've done that, even some of them we've just put center points on all the registers.
Right. So those will be there for you now. You don't have to do that anymore. As far as
So you,
anything
right,
with connect,
'cause it already has a connector.
yeah, anything that has a connector will give you points. Right.
But like, what about, say we wanted to do grids? They do have like a, like
then you'd probably fall back to this kind of stuff.
right.
Or if you, well, don't get me lying about grids, but if it was a family, you could put a connector on it. And like I said, right now we already are giving you connectors, or we already are giving you points for the primary connector, but next update every connector.
Mhm.
So if you absolutely wanted to build hanger rods into this VAV box, you could go ahead and export those points.
Can you show me what your export manager looks like for exporting points? So, like,
It's just a schedule. It's just a schedule, and you're in charge of that. And the reason is because there's a million different total station, and they all take CSV, and every schedule,
yeah.
Revit schedules will. So you got to get with your rep. What order does their total station technology want the points in? And usually it's just XYZ at the front, or no, it's number XYZ, and then most of them will allow any other data at the end. They'll ignore it, but you can push it. So the guys looking at the total station data, they can see, oh, I'm looking at the points for VAV2. Oh, I'm looking at the points for Hangar 12. Oh, I'm looking at the point, the cool thing about it is you're not scheduling just a dumb point, you're scheduling elements and all of the data associated with that.